Zach, we ready to move on to topic number 3. And good points all across the board. Now it's time to talk about Bo Nix and comments that were made by Sean Payton. Very prestigious comments made by Mr. Sean. And we might as well begin right now. Is Sean Payton putting unfair amount of expectations on Bo Nix with the top quarterback in the league prediction? Now, Sean, for clarification, said that he believes that Bo Nix will be a top quarterback in this league. Lee, I want to know your thoughts. The mic is yours.
Yeah. Bo Nix, he had a sort of a rocky start to the season last year, but he really came on as the season progressed, and he had some very good numbers, almost 3,800 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 66% completion percentage. What I liked about him too was his yards per attempt was almost near 7. So there's a lot to work with Bo Nix. There is. Coming out of college, there were some questions about his ability to translate to the NFL game, but he's played a lot of football in his career in college, and you saw as he played in the season, he got better and better and better. So I do think Denver has their quarterback for the future. I think Bo Nix is a good quarterback. Now, Sean Payton, I think, is putting some pressure on Nix to be special. Also, I like Nix's leadership qualities. You saw him last year in a couple of games arguing back and forth with Sean Payton, going back at him. I like that about Bo Nix. You think back to when Payton had Russell Wilson, he just undressed him, but Nix came back at him. I love that about him. So leadership qualities, wanting to be special. But I do think it's a bit premature to say I have him in the top 10 of quarterbacks coming in next year, but to be in the upper echelon, top 5, top 8, no, I don't see that. But it's good to always put those expectations on him. I'll say this. He has an uphill battle with all the quarterbacks that are in the AFC. There's special talent in the AFC. We know that with the Burrows and the Allens and the Jacksons. Even Aaron Rodgers with Pittsburgh may be a factor. You throw in Geno Smith with the Raiders. There are a lot of great quarterbacks that Bo Nix is going to have to compete against. And so I like the pressure that he put on Bo Nix to be special. I don't know if he can rise to that occasion in year 2. And remember this, my last point will be the jump from year 1 to year 2 is always the biggest for these quarterbacks. Those defensive coordinators start to get a book on you, and they start to scheme against your weaknesses. And so will we see a slight regression in Bo Nix as we saw in C.J. Stroud last year, or will Bo Nix continue to progress? Sean Payton is not an easy coach to play for. And so I think I like the expectations being put on him. I don't know if he can reach that level that Sean Payton is trying to get him to.
Well, you're muted again.
Zach, the mic is yours, my brother.
Okay, so there are a couple of things that Sean Payton said that I also wanted to mention. When talking about his team, he said that the Broncos are capable of winning the Super Bowl. This is the 7th team I've had in my career that I think that about. And also he said that Bo Nix is fully capable of being a top 4 to 5 quarterback in the league in the next 2 years. And I'll first start off by saying this. Like, when I read these quotes, the first thought that came to my mind wasn't that Sean Payton was putting unfair expectations on Nix. I like that he's showing that he has full confidence in him, because we have to remember when Sean Payton decided to bench and move on from Russell Wilson 2 years ago, the Broncos were looking like a team that was in one of the worst situations in the league. They had a ton of dead money from that Russell Wilson contract. Everyone was questioning Sean Payton and why he took the Denver job to begin with over the Chargers. Now, fortunately, he had a pretty rich and good owner in the Waldron family that was willing to pay off that Wilson contract. And Bo Nix was the first quarterback he's ever taken in the first round. So I like that Sean Payton has full confidence in his quarterback. But at the same time, I do think these comments are jumping the gun a little bit, because there was as great of a season as Bo Nix had last year, and he had some really good moments. And it's clear, I agree with Lee, Bo Nix is the Broncos quarterback of the future. They have found that guy that's going to be there for the next 5 to 7 years, maybe more. But I do think Super Bowl expectations and saying this guy's a top 4 or 5 quarterback in a year or two, that is jumping the gun a little bit. Because when I watched Denver last year, as great of a season as Bo Nix had, I never thought, oh, he's going to be a top 4 or 5 quarterback in the league one day. I thought that about Jaden Daniels, but not Bo Nix. And I don't even know if Bo Nix, like, where does he rank in the quarterback class of 2024? Is he definitely going to be better than Drake May? I'm not sure about that. Is he definitely going to be better than Michael Penix? I'm not too sure about that. So I just think putting these comments into the atmosphere, it's just a little bit rich for me. And Denver, here's the other problem. They had a great win over Tampa Bay in week 3 last year, right? That was actually Bo Nix, his first career win. As Lee mentioned, they started off pretty slow. And they didn't win that game because Bo Nix played particularly great. It was because of their defense. And they shut down Baker Mayfield. It was a great win. But after that win, you guys know that Denver beat 0 playoff teams last year when they were at full strength. They went 0-2 against the Chargers. They got blown out by the Ravens. They got blown out by the Bills in the playoffs. They lost to the Chiefs the one time they played Kansas City when the Chiefs were playing their starters. Obviously, Denver beat them the last week of the season. That was a great win with their playoff hopes on the line. But Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, like the Chiefs didn't play anyone in that game. So I just feel like when you look at Denver, this is a team that's getting a lot of hype right now. There's a lot of excitement around them. And I'm just not necessarily buying it. I have to see more first. As great as their defense is, this is a defense that thrived off turnovers last year against quarterbacks that just were not very good. And now the schedule is going to get tougher. I didn't love the fact that they didn't address the wide receiver position. I really like Cortland Sutton. He's really good. But besides him, there isn't really a ton that stands out to me. This is a team that also struggled to run the ball last year, even though their offensive line is really good. And they signed J.K. Dobbins, who's a good player, but he can't stay healthy. That's no guarantee that he could stay on the field. And this kid they drafted, the rookie out of UCF, RJ Harvey, he's getting a lot of buzz, but he's a rookie. We haven't seen him play yet. So I'm just not buying this Broncos hype. As great of a season as they had last year, I need to see more in order for me to believe that they're taking the next step. And when you compare the Broncos to the Chargers, obviously 2 teams in the same division, I would take the Chargers over the Broncos as a team that's more likely to break out, mainly because I just think Justin Herbert is flat out better than Bo Nix, and I will put some faith in him. So I just think the Broncos hype is getting a little bit out of control, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, look, I don't think Sean is putting unfair expectations on Bo Nix here. I do know that most coaches don't like to overhype their players. In fact, they try to downplay them as a way to get them to get better. I guess with all the other nuances and stuff like that, and coming from an old school coach, maybe this could be surprising to some people, and that's probably why they don't like it. But Sean has always been outspoken. You know, he wasn't too shy to say how bad Russell Wilson was. So I guess he wouldn't be shy to say how good Bo Nix is. And look, you know, a lot of people fell for Caleb Williams hype, the hype around Caleb Williams. And look, I'm not here to cap anybody's ceiling. It's been 1 year. I've seen a lot of stuff in practices that I've not been fond of, but, you know, maybe I'm not going to cap his ceiling. But there was a big hype train on Caleb Williams, primarily because he had the intangibles. He had the strong arm. He had the mobility. But look, Sean Payton didn't need that. He won a championship with a quarterback without that. He won a championship with a quarterback that had a B-level arm in Drew Brees, a guy that was more so of the guy who can make the adjustments at the line of scrimmage, that can process what he's seen on the field. And Bo Nix has that same attribute of being able to process what he's seeing on the field. There's nobody in his class, because Zach, you mentioned, is even the best quarterback in his class. I guess will be TBD, to be determined. But one thing I can say based off film is he's the best processor in his class. He's very good at that. And don't get it twisted, as we've seen in this clip that I played earlier, that I want to play again, the guy has a live arm, a strong arm. Look how accurate this ball is. This is the best pass I've seen all season. Literally. Mind you, he had a pass that he threw for over 67 air yards against Cincinnati. So he had the longest play of the year. He had the best throw I've seen that I literally just played in that clip. So he does have some of those intangibles to go along with what Sean Payton loves, which is a guy who knows what he's doing and seeing on the football field. And look, I think there's a narrative, and I've heard you mention it, Lee. It's a big narrative that because of previous examples in NFL history, we should be expecting some sophomore regression from quarterbacks like in the past, like C.J. Stroud, that had a good rookie season. Then last year was, so wasn't as good as the first one. And to some extent, I could believe why you may think that and why people may think that. But there's also an aspect of, look, I mean, these guys could get better. Look, Bo Nix could get Sean Payton's playbook down pack. I'm pretty sure he didn't last year. He can grow into the scheme. He could go further along into the playbook. So, yeah, sure. I understand people are expecting regressions from Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. I really don't. I don't at all. I think these guys will be more comfortable in year two. That's just me. So, yeah, going back to these comments by Sean, this is an old school guy. This is a coach that knows what he's doing. And if he's saying it based off his resume and what he's done and accomplished, I probably should take him at his word. And it's not only about his word. Oh, I'm just taking it off of face value. It's what I see. I ranked this guy number 15 on my quarterback rankings. And 15 is right there to 10. It literally is right next to 10. It's not that far. And the main reason why I didn't do that was because of maybe, let me see another year of that. I'm not going to put you in the top 10 right now. But I do think it's not far away, far-fetched. So, yeah, I don't think he's putting on any unfair expectations. I do think Bo Nix is legitimate.
If I could jump back in, he's a good prospect. I mean, he is a good prospect. I mean, I like what I saw in him. The only thing that I would say, at best, I think, and I agree with Zach, what he said earlier, they're the third best team in that division. They're the third best. I would take LA over them any day with Jim Harbaugh and the way that he is sort of molding Justin Herbert, right? Molding Herbert. When Herbert had to throw the ball 35, 40 times, he was trash. He was a 500 quarterback, and then he turned him into an 11-5 quarterback or whatever their record. I think they were.
But Lee, with all due respect, and I'm a Chargers fan, Justin Herbert is probably my favorite quarterback in the whole entire National Football League. So I'm not here to debate the Chargers here. I'm very high on the Chargers. But to be fair, the Broncos actually beat the Chiefs the last couple of years. They beat them, last year. They missed the field goal.
Well, they beat them last year without Mahomes. The Chiefs team didn't play.
Yeah, and then the other
10-7 team, though.
They missed the it was the voodoo going on. Yeah, so they probably should have beat them twice last year.
They're a 10-7 team, though. That's what they are. That's who they are. They're a 10-7 team that played a last place schedule. That's what they are. So now they're a playoff team. They get to get a little better schedule, and we get to see if by playing the better teams in the conference now, if they're going to rise to that occasion. I just don't. Again, I think they're the third best team in that league. So we'll see if added pressure, because now there is pressure for them to win. There's going to be more pressure put on Bo Nix from Sean Payton because of all these, not necessarily expectations on him, but the expectations on the Broncos to be a playoff team again and compete for that division. So I'm interested to see where they go this year. It's going to be very interesting.
I just think it's so easy to forget. Like, it was only a year ago from right now that when debating the worst situations in the league, Denver was right at the top of that list. And credit to Sean Payton. They had a great year last year. I thought he was worthy of consideration for Coach of the Year. But I just feel like the way people are talking about Denver right now, you would think that they were in a competitive game against Buffalo last year in the playoffs. If you remember that game, Denver scored an early touchdown and they got blown out. Buffalo outscored them like 35-0 to end that game. Denver lost to the Bengals. They lost to the Ravens. They lost to the Chiefs. They went 0-2 against the Chargers. And I just look at this roster like it's good, but I don't see like a top 5 roster. I think their defense could regress a little bit because they just feasted off of turnovers. They had like 3 or 4 pick sixes last year. I don't know. Vance Joseph, he did a good job last year. Is he some elite defensive coordinator? I'm not sure about that. So I'm just selling my Broncos stop right now because it's never been higher.
All right, look, a couple things. When you talk about elite, when we judge these quarterbacks, and obviously we got rankings, more rankings coming up. Stay tuned for that. I'm looking forward to that. When we talk about these elite quarterbacks, we are not talking about them the same way as we did before. And let me be clear here and very specific and open your brains up, because we talk about how, he's in the division with the Chargers. Justin Herbert is, elite quarterback, in my opinion. Patrick Mahomes, right up there, elite quarterback. Some people still think he's the best quarterback in the league. right? And yeah, Bo Nix is in that same division. So where's the real estate, of separation? Well, hold up. Where is that real estate of separation across the league? Because if you look at the AFC North, you have Lamar, you have what we talking here? We got Lamar, we got Joe Burrow, right? Where's the real estate of separation? They both elite, right? You get my point. You see where I'm going here? You look at the other divisions, you have elite quarterbacks in all these divisions. There's a lot of very good quarterbacks right now. Look at the NFC East. Got Dak Prescott, top 10 quarterback, or at least on the verge of top 10, right? You would assume. I have him number 11, but that's still top 10, right? Basically, you have Dak, you have Jalen Hurts, top 10 quarterback, right? In the same division. My point being, you look at quarterbacks in the past, Drew Brees, who was his biggest threat in his own division? He was the guy. You look at Tom Brady, who was the biggest threat in his own division? He was the guy, right? The same thing with Aaron Rodgers, dominated his division. So my point being is that how we judge elite and how we judge elite now is different. There's a lot of great guys. So we can sit here and say the field is this and the field is that, but we got a lot of good guys. So sure, yeah, he has Justin Herbert in his division. Sure, he has Mahomes in his division. That does not mean he can't be one of the top 10 quarterbacks, because realistically, you could get 15 guys that are the top 10 quarterbacks, even though there's 15 guys, is my point. I don't know if y'all understand it.
I hear you. Can he be a top 10 quarterback, but they still don't make the playoffs? It's the key, Leel. That's the thing that I'm preaching. I like his talent. I think you had some good, but very strong arm kid, mobile, smart. So I like his talent. I like his talent as a prospect to continue to get better. I don't like Denver so much. And so as you evaluate that, and can Denver take that jump from 10 wins to 12 wins, or will they regress to 7 or 8 wins is the key for me. And a 7-win Denver team, that means that Bo Nix will be looked a little differently than a 12-win team that gets to the playoffs. That's sort of where I sort of draw the line at with some of the comments. So will they progress enough to be in that upper echelon, compete for the West title? I don't see it with Denver.
Yeah, look, this is my last point, and feel free to rebuttal because we in the huddle. But look, my point is, you take a guy like Sean, and I want to compare him to Andy Reid, not because I want to disrespect Andy Reid, and not because I want to disrespect Sean by saying that. I do think Sean is one of the greatest head coaches of all time, but when you look at Reid, he's going to go down as arguably a top 5 coach of all time, right? But I always knew that Andy Reid was a great play caller, but remember, he couldn't get over the hump at once upon a time, until he found this guy. And he found this guy in Patrick Mahomes that could run his system perfectly to the way he wanted it to be ran. Okay. And I'm looking at it, maybe I'm delusional here, but I'm looking at Sean Payton in the same, not better than Andy Reid, but the same, resume, in the sense that he's done a lot. He's accomplished a lot. He's fixed quarterbacks. He's won, a championship. And I do believe that Russell Wilson wasn't his guy. He said it. That's why they dumped him. He believes, and this is going back into the draft. A lot of people think because Caleb Williams went number 1, and sure, we don't know if the Broncos was number 1, if they would have took Caleb Williams or not. Maybe they would have fell for the hype. But he always had his eyes on Bo Nix. I do believe with these comments from a guy as decorated as Sean is, a guy that coached Drew Brees. Okay, let's remember that. This is not a guy who coached bums. This is not no Mike McDaniel coming out having accomplished nothing, calling Tua one of the top 10 quarterbacks coming up. No, where's your record? Okay, this is Sean Payton, a guy who won a championship, who beat Peyton. Okay, Manning. All right, this is him. He's saying to y'all that this guy's legitimate. And maybe I'm falling for Sean Payton, but I'm going to believe him. And look, I get the wins and the losses. That's fair, because that's the aspect of this too. Are they going to win games? Or are they going to make the playoffs? Or are they going to be a threat in the playoffs? I get it. I think they can. This division is tough. Okay. But I believe in his comments.
I think Sean Payton's just excited because the Broncos had as good of a season as you could ask for last year. They made the playoffs when no one saw it coming. And I would be excited too. I think Bo Nix is very good. And I think he's the Broncos starting quarterback of the future. He's found his guy. I agree with that. My issue is when he says this team is a Super Bowl contender. My issue is when he says this Bo Nix is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the next 2 years, because I just think that's unrealistic. as great of a season as he had last year, there was never a point when I watched Denver and I felt that way. Not once. And Denver, again, is a very trendy team right now. I feel like they're, everyone's picking them to make the playoffs. Everyone's picking them to challenge Kansas City. And that's where I'm going to sell a little bit. And I do think that what Lee said about a possible sophomore regression comes into play, because literally everything we're saying about Bo Nix right now, we were saying similar things about CJ Stroud last year. And I think CJ Stroud had a better rookie year than Bo Nix did. And I do believe in CJ Stroud long-term a lot more than I do Bo Nix. It's hard. The league adjusts. And my last point on this is one of my biggest storylines going into this NFL season is that all eyes are going to be on this quarterback class of 2024, because historically in the NFL, we've seen plenty of examples when you have these quarterback classes, even the good ones, when you have 5 to 6 guys. This was actually the first time ever 6 quarterbacks were drafted in the first round. We never see a situation where all 6 teams come out after their careers are over and said, man, we nailed that pick. The odds are one of these guys is going to fail. And I'm not saying it's going to be Bo Nix, but the crazy thing about this quarterback class, and the reason why I bring it up, is because if you ask every team that drafted a quarterback, you could ask the Bears, the Commanders, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Falcons, the Vikings. All 6 of those teams right now think they found their guy. All 6 of those guys think right now they hit the jackpot. And I'm telling you right now, that is not the case. 1, maybe 2 of these guys are not going to work out. The NFL, it just doesn't work like that. And that is one major storyline I have my eyes on entering this season. As great of a quarterback class as it was, it's not a guarantee that all 6 of those guys are going to work out.
Salute to the Slant Football for the comment. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, Zach, look, I think, yeah, sure, it was a great class. Now, I do think maybe the number 1 overall pick in that class, maybe, I'm not, like I said, I ain't going to sell right now. I'm not going to cap the guy's ceiling.
Please
But
don't.
look, I do think that some guys, I agree. Some guys, not all of these guys, 6 of these guys is going to be the truth, right? I don't. It's not enough real estate. You don't win 2 Super Bowls, okay? Like 2 teams win different championships, right? It's 1 trophy, so somebody's going to be bad. But I do think this was a good class, and I think JJ McCarthy is going to be a good quarterback. I think he's in the best situation to succeed out of everybody here in that class. So we'll see what happens. We'll see who's the fraud, and we see who's playing like a god. And this is 99 pod, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. Yeah. And
real quick, Leel, I like Michael Penix of all these quarterbacks. The best thrower of the football of all of them. Cannon arm. And the thing about the Falcons is the defense is so bad, he's gonna have to throw the ball a lot. And so as far as these quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels sticks above the rest. My second guy in this entire class is Michael Penix for me.
All right.
Well, let me ask you this before we wrap up, Ben. And I know it's early, it's only 1 year. This is not, you could obviously change your opinion on this in years to come, but do you think Bo Nix is the second best quarterback in this class behind Daniels? Are you ready to say that after what he did last year?
Who, Lee or me?
Both you guys. Lee just said he likes Penix. So
I like Penix. Yeah, I like Penix. I think Penix, small sample set, of course, but for what he can do throwing the football, none of them throw the ball better than him.
Look, I like Michael Penix. I have him high on my quarterback rankings. I'm really feeling this class, and you can tell by my rankings. I have JJ high. I had Michael Penix high. I had Bo Nix high. I don't have Caleb Williams high, obviously. So clearly I'm sipping the Kool-Aid of this quarterback class. And, Zach, mentioning that not everybody could be good. Yeah, sure. We'll see where I mess up at, but I'm willing to take stock and buy stock. Bo Nix to me is the second best quarterback in this class. I'm going Jaden Daniels for sure. I'm going Bo Nix for sure. Okay, so I'm very sure about number 1. I'm very sure about number 2. Number 3 will probably be JJ and probably be JJ. Then I go Michael Penix. And it's not because I think Michael Penix is bad. I like Michael Penix. I have him high on my quarterback rankings. I do agree. I share that sentiment that he has a strong arm and he's a real thrower, a pure thrower of that pigskin. But there's some throws that I seen last year that was a little bit erratic. So I want to see a little bit more consistency. I can't really judge him off of last year because he got thrown in the fire. Sunday Night Football season is over pretty much. Your playoff hopes are hanging by a thread. That's unfair expectations for any quarterback. I do believe the Falcons are going to be much better than what they showed us last year, but I'll just go Bo Nix ahead of these guys.
I think Drake May is the second best quarterback in the class. I would rank him at number
Drake
2.
May. I didn't even talk about Drake May. I think he's going to be another one. Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to hit the class, bro.
Hey, we'll definitely be back to talk about it. But I want to ask you, Leel, what don't you like about Caleb Williams, first and foremost? What don't – because you're not ready to go all the way out and put your feet in the water, the hot water, but you keep touching it in the water and pulling it back. So what don't you like about Caleb Williams? I'm curious.
I mean, look, I can't swim, so I'm not going to go all the way out in the water, okay, because I can't swim and find my way back home, you know? So when we talk about Caleb Williams, I was not impressed last year, clearly, and I haven't seen nothing yet that has proven otherwise. And sure, we could talk about the offensive line. We could talk about the coaching. We can blame exterior. Flat out, individually, he did not look good.